Hello, and welcome back to the Distant Tourist Podcast. I'm Robert,
I'm Thomas.
and if you're reading this title correctly, then yes, we are in fact going back to one of our first, to our first episode. And Thomas, you want to kind of give us some background on what we're doing exactly today?
Sure. So we're going to go back through Ehime Prefecture. Ehime is one of our favorite prefectures. That's where I was going to study abroad before it got canceled with COVID. And that's our first episode that we've created. So we're going to go back through and try our new style on it. Because we also don't feel like it's really been given enough. There's so much that is in Ehime and has happened in Ehime that we just wanted to double back on it. So
Definitely give our respects to it.
yes. So to start off, I decided to really do more nature stuff. I am much more of a nature kind of guy, but Ehime is just jam-packed with nature things. There is the Shikoku Seiyo Geopark, and so it's not in one little like location. It's not like a theme park where it's just like you'd have a volcano here and then a mountain here and then maybe like some limestones here. It's scattered throughout the entire in Ehime Prefecture. It is throughout the entirety of the prefecture.
Oh, so this is a very widespread kind of ground.
Yes. So there is an area that is in Nanyo, which is the southern part of Ehime, and it would go from there, and then it would go up, and then you would go towards the center of Ehime. There's another area in there. The one area that actually looks probably the most, I guess, stunning, in my opinion, is the Suzaki Gigan coast. So this has like 400 million year old stratas.
And stratas are...
It's like a big rock with lots of lines in it. Imagine that, I guess.
All right.
And they stick out of the ocean as well. So they're like this really old, I guess, rock with many lines, different kind of limestones, stuff like that into it. And it just looks amazing, in my opinion.
Like good vistas kind of thing, or...
Yeah, so it's mostly just kind of like this area. A lot of these places are just kind of an area you can go to, and then from there you can kind of go, okay, well, this is an amazing view, or this is what this is all about. There's another area which is the karst. If I remember this right, is like the karst Highlands.
Okay.
And for that one, that is just like the biggest mountain in Ehime that you can go to. And so then from there, it has a lot of pretty much rocks, stones, lots of other things that you can kind of look at. It's very barren. It's not full of trees. It's just really, I guess, lots of boulders around.
Okay. Is this like a trail thing that you'd want to do, or like...
So this one does have... So a lot of these places are just like, there's a trail, and you can kind of just hike it. Same with this. There's not really a big thing of like what you should exactly do there. It is just here is a fantastic site that you can do. Here is just a trail that you can go on. And it's just a matter of just you exploring Shikoku's nature.
Okay.
Or even just Ehime's nature.
So there's a lot of ground to cover in this, I'm guessing.
Yes. Literally and figuratively. There is a lot of areas that are just kind of there. And they're just completely spread out. There's also the townscape. So if we're going to go more on the historical side of things, things that aren't just, I guess, beautiful sceneries, going out into the nature and just seeing, like the other ones, there is the townscape of Uno Machi in Uwacho. And this is a traditional town. So if you could think about mid-Edo period kind of buildings, that is what this area is about. This is where the Uwajima clan used to live, actually. And this is considered important preservation district.
Interesting.
In Japan, yes.
Yeah.
So this is just pretty much mostly traditional buildings that you can go into. There's actually old shops. There's like soy sauce shops, hotels that you can go into that if you wanted to rent a hotel there. It is very much like if you wanted to take a step back into like towards Edo period, it's like where you want to go. You can walk around during night. There's also a semi nightlife. There's hotels, shops that are still running since the city or the town was built, essentially. So there's really old shops there as well. It's very much, I guess, it is one of the places to go if you wanted to go into a more city place, but also historic.
Gives you that nice little flavoring kind of variety.
Yes. It definitely kind of helps out. And then also, I mean, if you really are interested in Japanese history, this is like a really amazing place. You can go see that. And then there's also more Western style houses there too.
Oh. Like Western as in, are we talking like Western? I don't want to say Renaissance era. I forget the exact era that was around. But yeah, you say more Western buildings. Are we talking like more modern Western or more older Western style?
Kind of older Western. It was definitely, so think about the Meiji period. So that would be about mid 1800s.
Yeah, till about the very early.
Because Japan didn't open up until the Meiji period. Until then, it was very much shut off from the world still.
Yeah.
With the exception of Dutch. You know, having just one small island that they could trade on.
Yeah.
So, I guess the biggest Western detail is like the roofing, like that kind of the red roof churches type thing. It would be something like that, and then also the windows they don't have too much of like this is a Western house, like kind of like. If you go to England during that time period, it would not be anything like that.
So I'm not going to see Victorian style.
No. You won't see anything like that. There might be an aspect like, oh, there's a window that kind of looks similar to England, but that's about as far as you're going to get.
That sounds like a nice trip back to the past.
Yes. Also, there is some other fun things you can do there. Thinking on more of a activity side. So what you would like to do there. And one of the things I would like to do there is sea walking.
You mean like walking on water or like a bridge? Or...
No. So imagine kind of scuba diving, except for they have, this is a very new thing that has happened. They have reinvented kind of, I guess, scuba diving.
Okay.
So this is in the very bottom of Ehime. There's like this small little boot island that comes off the bottom. It is there. It is the place is called Ainan Cho, which is the Kashima, Japan. It's still in Ehime, but it's at like as far bottom as you can go.
Like we're scrubbing the bottom of the prefecture.
It's pretty much like an island just off the bottom of it.
Okay.
And this place has completely changed the scuba diving scene. So before you would have your tanks and everything else like that, your scuba gear, you'd have to have your license, everything, right?
Yeah, very heavy, I must say.
Yeah, I've never gone scuba diving personally, but also for people that have like glasses, I've heard that it's very difficult to scuba dive because you'd have to get special goggles or stuff like that. Well, they have changed it so that there is a new helmet. So you're not really scuba diving super far down.
Okay.
First off, you're not going to the bottom of the ocean out hundreds of feet out.
So it's pretty close to the surface kind of diving.
Kind of close, but still pretty deep. And what they have is this new helmet it's almost like a fishbowl. So
you mean kind of like those iron casts, like we got holes on the sides that you can look out of, or
kind of, except for it is very modern. So it would be literally like taking one of the big glass bowls like a fishbowl,
Mm.
and putting it on your head.
You mean like the cartoons?
Yeah, it's literally just like that. And they've covered out the back of it, so it's mostly just kind of the left and right. It's kind of just like a 180 view, I believe.
And you can just kind of shift.
Yeah, you're not going to be literally turning your head all the way around as if you're in a horror movie. And so then they've only focused on that front part, but you can wear your glasses. You could even wear sunglasses if you wanted to down there. I saw a couple pictures of people doing that, but yeah, it's just a helmet, and then there's a tube that feeds you air from the top. And then you can have like a swimsuit on. But it's very minimal. All you have on is a helmet, pretty much.
That sounds a lot easier because I kind of did like a sort of scuba diving thing once, and the amount of gear that you have to put on is insane. So just to make sure I understand, it's just the bowl. You can wear like scuba or / swimming gear, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just swim gear and then the helmet.
Where's the air coming from though?
A tube.
Like yeah,
it comes up from the top.
Like, is it attached to like a bow, or is it literally just a tube that's like?
I believe it's attached to a boat up top, where someone kind of monitors it. It could also. I'm not entirely sure about the location of it, of like what happens at the very top, but I'm pretty sure that it's someone's up there with the tubes, making sure that they don't get tangled. I would imagine, if it gets tangled,
Someone's getting hurt.
yeah, you're gonna be out of oxygen.
Yeah. When you first explained it to me, I thought it was like a snorkel or something like that.
No, it's like full on helmet.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I guess a good analogy somehow is the SpongeBob helmet of what they do to hold the water in.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is, but for air, with a tube off the top.
Sounds fun and a lot easier than scuba diving.
Yes, I'm curious on how it is. I mean, there is a lot of school fish and coral stuff there. So, I mean, it is very much a really cool place to walk around and look at. Plus, you don't have to worry about having all that extra gear on. Or if you're snorkeling, you are at the surface, essentially, or kind of far down. But you're very much limited to your snorkel's reach. This one looks a lot more free, I guess. So that's why I also call it sea walking, is because you're able to actually just kind of walk on the water's floor. So
That's pretty cool. I'd like to give that a try myself sometime.
yes, that was on the activity side that I really think is new and I guess innovative, because I've never seen it before, except for, of course, cartoons. You
always just think it's kind of a joke.
Exactly, but they've kind of changed that up. The last place that I kind of was wanting to focus on was Shirai Falls.
I'm assuming this is going to be a waterfall type place.
Yes, but what makes this place unique is this difference in seasons. Before I get too far into it, it is a very beautiful waterfall. It is definitely stunning, I would say. There's a couple writers, such as Shiki Masoka and Natsume Soseki, who went there and would compose some very well-known tankas, or short poems, and haikus about the scenery.
Oh, okay. So it was the poetry place, really.
Pretty much. It was just so beautiful that it just brought a lot of poets, really famous poets, to it.
Okay.
But also, what I find the most interesting is during the winter. The waterfall freezes during the winter.
Oh.
And so it doesn't just kind of freeze and then it's just like, I guess, it's not just like a small little waterfall. It is like, it freezes the full-on waterfall. It looks as if you played Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, how the massive waterfall is frozen. It essentially looks like that.
Oh, okay. Just a complete kind of block of just falling water.
Yeah, it looks absolutely stunning. When it says during the winter it's completely frozen. It just looks, I guess, unreal.
I'd be curious to see how the light reflects off of it, if it like goes in different directions.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be. I think it's interesting. So the thing is, it is 96 meters tall.
Mm-hmm.
When
Oh.
it's frozen in winter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is just yeah. There's also a new like a farm park nearby.
Mm.
Which kind of is like I guess another place you can rest and see more farm life of
Mm-hmm.
Ehime, because Ehime is very much, from what I can tell,
Mm-hmm.
it has a lot of nature with
Mm-hmm.
a few bigger cities.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
That's pretty interesting. It sounds like you definitely took the time to just kind of go on a long nature route, but you found like activities along the way to kind of switch up the way your experience.
oh yeah,
I definitely say that the poetry location at the end, the falls, would definitely be a nice highlight or conclusion.
oh yeah. I think that would be, if you wanted to really end the trip on a really nice, beautiful nature scene,
Mm-hmm.
that waterfall would be the place. No matter if you are any type of season,
Mm-hmm.
winter, summer, fall, spring, it's going to look amazing. Whether the water is flowing or not, it'll look good.
Sounds exciting. All right, moving on to what I picked. So I kind of put my as my central hub this time was Matsuyama, one of the I believe the biggest city in Ehime.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and the first location I wanted to go check out was Dogo Onsen, which is one of the oldest onsen in Japanese history, as I understand. Um, and one thing that like I've heard a lot everybody talk about is that like the location inspired some of the designs in Spirited Away. The onsen itself has such a very distinct architecture design, and if you watch the movie and you look at pictures side by side, you can definitely see
Yeah.
the influences. Like it's pretty apparent. Um, the architecture inside, though, I can't like disregard. Like there are just it is just like a complex place with just a lot of levels, with just a lot of different places where you can lounge, bathe, all that kind of thing. So the comparison makes a lot of, or the inspiration makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I find that the thing that made it more interesting to me, and the first time I went through Ehime, I didn't quite appreciate this, was that this onsen was the place where Natsume Soseki, who you referenced earlier, wrote Bolt-chan, which is one of his most famous works.
Mm-hmm.
And to put into perspective, Natsume Soseki's, I guess, importance to Japanese history, the man is on the 1,000 yen bill. Like, a writer got onto the onto like a currency bill, which I don't know about you, but at least in America, that's just not a thing that happens.
No.
So, yeah, at the time I hadn't really understood. Bolt-chan, for those who don't know, is very much a book based on Natsume Soseki's time, I believe, teaching in Shikoku, or I believe Ehime.
It was actually in Matsuyama
Is it Matsuyama?
City. He was
Yep.
teaching. So he was originally from an area that was actually more from the mainland.
Right.
But then he moved to England for a little bit,
Mm.
and then he went back to Shikoku to teach.
Yeah.
If I'm right.
Yeah. So Bolt-chan was definitely based off of those experiences teaching, which was a very short tenure. I believe he only did like a year, and then he went on to become a professor.
I think from what I understand, he hated it.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's from what I've read, because we're currently reading it for one of our classes right now. I've read a little bit ahead, and it's very interesting because it's like kind of a comment on society, but at the same time it's very much disguised within a very comedic slash lighthearted kind of tone.
But also that could be our version of it, and we are reading kind of I guess for a class it's more of a manga type thing, where the book might be taking it in a different direction.
Yeah, I definitely want to read the book itself on my own time at some point to get more definitive conclusions on that. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting read so far. My personal favorite that I I am reading right now is his Natsume Soseki's final completed work, which was Kokoro.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the last point I'm gonna make on this, but it's like Natsume Soseki's life was basically just uh, the Meiji period. Like he was born a year before, and he was born I think like 4 years after it ended. So the Meiji period was just his life, and Kokoro was very much like a summation, kind of that entire period.
Well, also wasn't it? I believe it wasn't finished
No, he had one
because
more
he had
after that
passed
didn't.
away. Oh, okay.
There one more after that didn't finish.
I know that out of the books that I wanted to read, it was I Am a Cat by Natsume Soseki, and that is looking at society and everything from the perspective of a cat, I guess. That one was very much his opinions on society and also the change, because he was born right before the Meiji, and he was watching everything change around him. And it's very much a critique on newer things coming into life and whether or not they are good things or bad things, or if we should get rid of all of the old things or what we should keep. It was very much a opinion on what was going on in Japan at that time, and it was kind of like his own opinion on that.
Yeah, I'd argue the whole like I mentioned earlier, Meiji period was just his whole discussion point. Like Kokoro was like the beginning versus the end of the Meiji period. You know, like you mentioned with I Am a Cat, it's a critique of the changes. Bolt-chan, I think, is shaping up to be more about the morality of it. But yeah, kind of pulling back from that really long tangent that we ended up going on, I really am curious to see the place that inspired a person who was so influential to Japanese history, and see like the place, maybe even just try and visualize just kind of what he was seeing while he was writing, because there has to be something I'd argue quite special that he saw that influenced a lot of his thoughts, even if I can't perfectly replicate it.
Well, even his own opinions were just so influential. Also, for the listeners, that the 1,000 yen note is an extremely used note. So for him to be on probably, I would almost say, the most used note in Japan is just outstanding. It does not happen in, I guess, American culture at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say it doesn't happen anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something that I ever heard of in America, at least. Moving on from Dogo Onsen, I decided I want to stop by Matsuyama Castle, which is one of Japan's 12 original castles, which basically survived the post-feudal era, like past the Edo period, I believe. There were 500 plus during that period, and then now there's just 12 remaining that are originals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely want to see another location with a lot of history surrounding a lot of politics, changing times, a lot, just a location of a lot of things. Another reason I want to see it is because like the ground has like 200 plus sakura trees growing there.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I definitely want to go during the spring for that one. I feel like that's just prime time to just go see it. You do have to walk up what is described as a steep hill, but is still called Mount Katsuyama. So
I would probably say yes, because from what I've seen, trails in Japan, they are extremely steep, and they pretty much say, okay, you want to go up the hill? Alrighty, here you go. Here's pretty much as steep as they can make it.
They try to avoid switchbacks, don't they?
Yeah, so I don't know if they avoid it, but I know that where in America there would just be switchbacks that would go up, they would just kind of be like, okay, we're going to go up there. Here's a slope. And it's very harsh. When it comes to uphill in Japan, it's harsh. There's no way around it. It's just harsh.
Yeah, so I'm definitely curious to see what that trip is like. But for those that might not be up for that kind of trip, there is like a chairlift that you can just sit down and ride up, or like a ropeway, which is like a car that's like held up by like the rope.
An easier way.
Yeah, there are easier ways, but you're not getting the experience unless you climb up.
I don't know, man. Knowing Japanese trails, I think that would be a nice. If you don't want to get all sweaty by the time you hit the top, I would recommend maybe doing a cart because you can still see the scenery.
Yeah.
If not even better because you're up on a higher view looking down.
So, I mean, maybe I'll take it, walk up, take the ropeway or the chairlift down, but like, I'm curious to see, more the tree, the sakura trees at the time, but definitely the architecture, and I'd like to get a better look at the whole thing because you and I have talked about it before, but the architecture is very unique comparatively because it's like they don't use nails or anything like that.
No, they don't. They kind of slot it in, which makes it actually earthquake resistant, pretty much. Because when the whole building shakes, it's not going to shake the nails loose. Because that's one of the bigger things, especially in areas that usually don't get earthquakes, and I think more modern times too, is that people just kind of put, like, I guess, nails into it. So then when the earthquake does happen, that comes loose and then the whole thing crumbles. Where in Japan, since there's just been so many earthquakes throughout the history of Japan, they've been kind of working a way around it. So yeah, that's been kind of the major thing, is that when it shakes it, but everything's slotted so it can have some leeway onto it, so it doesn't crumble. That's the major thing, is it just doesn't crumble.
Yeah, so that's definitely a highlight that I'd like to see more of. Moving from Matsuyama, I wanted to also take a sort of side trip to Uojima, which also has. Well, actually, I'm about to get ahead of myself.
Oh, there.
Yeah, I gotta calm down. So apparently have a museum called the Date Museum, which apparently the Date clan. I gotta still don't want to make presumptions about pronunciation, but that clan specifically was kind of ruled over the Uojima region for about 250 years before clans were dissolved, I believe, in the 19th century, if I remember correctly. But yeah, there's just a whole clan with a lot of their, or a museum with their like artifacts, such as leftover weapons, scrolls, family crests, a bunch of other artifacts with a bit of history. I hadn't known at the time because I was trying to look up more history about the Date clan itself, and apparently that like before like clans were kind of disbanded, I guess you could say. They were also very prominent in progressing the Uojima region itself, making kind of like one of the forefronts of progress at the time during the Meiji period. To the point that I believe the last clan head, who was, oh my gosh, I have his name written here and I have to struggle to read it sometimes. Here it is. Date Mune Nari, excuse me. He was the last head, and apparently he became a prolific politician during that part. And also helped make Uojima the first place in Japan to make a completely Japanese-made steamboat, I believe. So it was very much independence of like just the outside influence, just pushing Japan forward.
That's interesting. But what about the technology? Did he like come up with it, or was that still like?
I think it was more that he was pushing for the research and the creation, as I understand it.
Okay.
Kind of like when a politician would champion new technologies, that kind of style. So yeah, I definitely like to see that history because I kind of my whole trend this whole trip would definitely be seeing more of the history and the specifics.
You're looking like the more historic side of Ehime, while I'm very much out in the nature.
Yeah, I was very curious to learn more about just some of the intricacies of the nature, the history. Because like I don't know about you, but some of my favorite parts of history is just like the weird things where it's like that was the reason that this came to be. It wasn't like some profound reason, it was just sometimes luck. So one of my favorite things is to find out histories of certain regions and just be like, oh, so that's how this came to look like this, or this is why people do this usually around this area. Like that kind of thing is very interesting to me. Which kind of leads me to the wild card pick that I had chosen. I know kind of hopping into that one, but I feel like it's kind of appropriate for this choice.
All right.
How do you feel about bullfighting?
I mean, when I think about bullfighting, I think about Spain. You know, I think that's everyone's first instinct is like Spain, and then people running away from the bulls and almost dying because of them because they're being stupid.
Yeah, I got the red cape, say Toro, and all that.
Yeah, I think more of like it's going through the town, like down the streets, and there's just bunches of stupid people that are like, oh, I want to be right in front of the bull and then jump away at the last possible second, just because I want to look cool.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Oh, I mean, it's cool if you don't die, I guess, but
I guess, but still.
Yeah. So I found out there's bullfighting in Japan, but not in that style. So apparently, what they do is they have two bulls compete against each other in like a test of endurance instead of goring each other, I guess is the way to put it. What ends up happening is like two bulls kind of clash together, and it's basically just turns into an endurance match where they're just constantly just locked horns and they're just trying to get the other one to falter or give up. And so I was like, well, why is it that specific way as opposed to
Toro?
Yeah.
Toro?
Yeah, like why are they not fighting the bulls themselves? And apparently what ended up happening was that what used to be the case was that like there were times when people were like, well, who's got the best, best bull, like that determines their worth, their status. So what they do is they'd have bulls compete to decide, who is the superior one. But the thing is, you didn't want to damage your perfect bull in a fight by having it get gored. So what they do is have them do endurance fights. And apparently they're still going on to today, but I think the funniest part to me is that when it's over and when one falters or finally gives up, what usually ends up happening is the one that's losing starts running away and the other bull starts chasing after it. So after this very long, intense fight where where two bulls are just, very much locked and just trying to beat each other down, now it just turns into a frenzy of people just like, stop those bulls, stop those bulls, stop those bulls. And yeah, I just watched a full match, which went on for quite a while, with like a middle section where not much is happening, where they're locked and it's just waiting. And then it just ends in chaos until they can finally get control again.
It sounds kind of hectic, but I mean, I think that would look a lot nicer than, I guess, the Toro. I think it'd be a lot more... I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like it would be a lot more action-packed, where it's just kind of like two bulls, like, pretty much locking horns and just, like, trying to outdo the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know this was a thing in Japan at the time. I also found out that they kind of treat them like sumo wrestlers to a certain degree. Excuse me. One of the names is that they call it is Ushizumo, or bull sumo wrestling. They even have the bulls ranked in like classes similar to how they would be in sumo wrestling.
Okay.
With even like full weight classes. Here are their stats. Here are like where they can compete. I'm like, wow, there's a full thing. It originated from Okinawa, and I'd like to know the history specifically of there when we get there. But like the basics of the tradition, I found really fascinating because it sounded a lot more tame than what I'd hear about in Spain, despite the ending of each match being kind of chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how they really get control again. I mean, also these bulls must be relatively, I guess, tame. I mean, not saying that they're,
Yeah. Well, no, I get what you mean. It's very much you see them being kind of well trained.
Usually, when you think about bulls, you think that they are very, very aggressive, and that you could die just by an interaction with them.
Yeah. From what I saw in the videos, they were very well trained, very obedient. It wasn't until the end of the match when one of them's worn out and the other's angry that things really, really got out of hand.
Interesting, though.
But yeah, that was my wild card pick that I wanted to see. I know you found something that you wanted to share.
So I did find something that was really, really interesting that also originated, or actually, this originated in France. Yours originated in Okinawa, but a lot of people think about Spain, which is canyoning.
Sorry, run that by me again.
Canyoning.
Like,
That's what it's called, I guess. So the activity, I've never heard of this thing before. At first, when I first read it, I thought it said canoeing, but this is canyoning.
like what, jumping canyons or something like that?
So what it is it is a kind of a range of things, but it's either sliding down natural chutes, jumping into waterfalls, or descending like gorges by ropes.
Interesting. So it's my first thought was like a more controlled parkour, but sounds like it's more free diving also as well.
No, so actually, what makes it really interesting and fun is that there is a place called the Nametoko Gorge, and this is like one of the bigger places for it, where it has lots of these natural slides. So what happens is the water grinds down the stone, so it's really, really smooth, and then it just becomes a natural slide.
Oh, so people actually slide. It's not like a very steep one. It's a more general one.
Oh no, there's some steep ones.
Oh.
It is going straight down almost. It's like a slide that you would see in a theme park.
Oh.
It is an actual like water slide though. It is a natural water slide.
And you wouldn't cut yourself in the back?
No, because it's smooth.
Oh, okay.
You still would want to be careful. Of
Yeah.
course. But
It's...
it is still pretty smooth, and then also it has like these drops into nice big pools.
Oh, okay.
It'd be like a waterfall, and there'd be a nice big pool at the bottom that you can jump into. There is also the Yakiwa Falls is one of the bigger things here. And this is actually one of Japan's best 100 waterfalls. And this one is just supposed to be absolutely amazing and gorgeous. I don't think that they allow you to jump off of it because it is extremely high.
If you're not well trained, you're going to get hurt.
Yes, I think no matter what, you can get hurt while doing all this stuff, but it still seems very fun. Like climbing down a rope down into a gorge sounds really fun. Sliding down a natural slide, like water slide, that sounds really fun. But yeah, it's supposed to be extremely fun, and I guess it was a very random thing that I came across where I was like, oh, it's a gorge or it's another waterfall. Okay, that's cool. You just kind of have trails around it, but it's a slide essentially, and the ones I've seen has multiple people going down extremely long slide, like natural slides, and it just looks like a lot of fun.
Sounds like a great summer activity.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. It would be amazing summer activity. Apparently, the trails around that area are supposed to be amazing as well. So that whole area is just supposed to be perfect. But yeah, it's called canyoning. That's what you'd be doing there.
Still can't get past that name.
Yeah, I still am kind of like, huh, what? But
why?
But yes, also, I mean, you can still go there during autumn because there's still a lot of trees that pretty much, seasons change. So that it just looks amazing with the different colored leaves and everything like that. I wouldn't go swimming during that time, I don't think.
Probably not, no.
Because I think it would be extremely cold.
Yeah, I'd rather not freeze to just go down one slide.
Yes. So yeah, that is everything that I have. Leaving off on a very fun thing.
Very out of left field, I'll say.
Yes, I have to say, I wanted to find newer things about Ehime that I didn't know before, and I was surprised about how much I did not know.
Yeah.
So definitely in terms of activities, with the sea walking and then the canyoning, I was just kind of blown away by those.
Wonder what kind of community you could find for that kind of thing.
A lot. I know that the canyoning, if you've never done canyoning before and you are really worried about, am I going to hit a really big rock? What would I do then? Right? They have professionals there that teach you how to do everything.
Oh, okay.
Or like, I don't know how to climb a rope or how to go down a rope. they have professionals there that will teach you
Oh, that's pretty cool.
what to do. Yeah. Same thing with the sea walking. There will be, obviously, you will be supervised. It is not a simple of going out, buying yourself a glass bowl and putting it on your head and hoping for the best. It is very much, there is professionals that you see and that you're just kind of in their care. But yeah, it still looks like a lot of fun.
Well, that sounds like fun. I'll definitely give that a try.
Yes.
But I believe that's it for both of us.
So yes, I hope you guys have liked this episode. We wanted to give Ehime, I guess, a little bit extra. There's just so much to do there, and we hope you guys been liking this newer style. Let us know. Also, check us out on Instagram, which is at distant_tourists. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching on YouTube. If you wanted to like or subscribe, that would be awesome. If you guys are listening on Spotify or anywhere else, just thank you, honestly. So yeah, thank you guys.
Yep. See you next time.